So you've been treating your dog's aggression and trying to get your dog to stop barking, lunging, biting for quite some time, but you're not seeing the sustainable solution you're actually looking for. Maybe you've actually seen some improvements and you've actually been able to get short-term wins that are very exciting, but you don't feel like you're getting to the root problem. You're not actually able to get deep down into it to really treat the issue to prevent the aggression from occurring in the far future. In this video, I want to talk about why you haven't been able to find that root problem to your dog's aggression and where you need to go from here. Let's get into it. What's up guys, it's Jenna with Dog Liaison, where I coach you on how to treat your dog's mental health. I'm a professional dog trainer. I work exclusively with dogs facing behavioral issues, including aggression, dogs that lunge, bark, bite. And one of the things that I hear from our clients a lot is that they've actually been on the journey for some time. If you're watching this video, I actually hypothesize that you're a bit of a researcher. You probably like to do wins at home. You probably like coming onto YouTube, learning something and trying it at home. And you probably feel pretty proud of yourself when you do it because you're like, ha, I figured it out. So maybe you have been researching for quite some time. Maybe you've brought on a trainer and you've been doing a bunch of different techniques to treat your dog's aggression, and you've been getting some wins. You've been able to get some success. You have seen some improvement, but at the core, overall, you don't feel like you're getting that big picture progress. You don't feel like you're actually treating the root issue of your dog's aggression, and you're not exactly sure where to go next. In this video, I'm breaking that down. The first thing I want you to think about is, have you been working retroactively or proactively? Have you been reacting or pre-acting? That's how I want you to think about this. For example, if when your dog aggresses towards his trigger, you have been then intervening, you've been then saying no, you've been then critiquing, you've been then giving the commands, that would be a reaction. Your dog does the event and then you react to it. A more proactive approach is going to prevent the dog from lunging, prevent the dog from barking in the first place. Now, this does not mean suppressing the behavior. This is the second thing I want you to consider whether you've been doing. Have you just been putting your dog in an obedience behavior like a sit, stay, or eye contact, or going to the bed and staying still? Have you been doing that in lieu of treating the emotional state motivating the behavior? For example, if you are worried about your dog, biting someone when you have guests come over, your solution may be, well, I just need to put my dog in a down stay. And perhaps he's actually going to the down stay, he's going to the bed, but then as soon as the trigger person is actually in the house, your dog gets right back up, runs to the door, and starts aggressing. Well, that's because while you may have put your dog in a down stay, you didn't actually treat the emotional association your dog has with the person coming into the house. And so what's ended up happening is you sort of suppressed the emotion temporarily, and therefore eventually that emotion is going to come out. That's really one of the things I want you to first be reflective about is, if you have been putting your dog in some sort of behavioral obedience or eye contact type structure, is that just sort of putting a mask or putting a band-aid over a pretty significant wound? A lot of times what I see is that a dog is aggressing towards a trigger, and so our solution is, well, we just need to give them eye contact. We need them to just sit still. But let me kind of give a human analogy of what that basically is. Let's say you're living in a domestic violence situation and your partner continues to abuse you, your partner continues to attack you or whatever. Your solution cannot be, well, I just need my partner to sit still next to me. Like, that might work for a little while, but it's not the end game. That's not the solution. That's not the big picture, because the root problem is that the partner has a violence issue. The root problem is that the partner has some emotions that are motivating their behavior. That's how you want to think about it with your dog. Your dog may just sit still and they may be giving you eye contact and they may not be barking, but is that actually how they're feeling? And if left to their own devices without being commanded to do so, would they still do those things, or would they instead be aggressing? That's really how you want to be thinking about this, is that sometimes you're getting short-term wins, which are great. They're very satisfying to see your dog, sit still while the person comes into the house. But at the end of the day, the reason you're not seeing the longevity out of it is because you're not treating the emotional and cognitive state motivating the behavior. And this is really taking a more therapeutic or mental health perspective. That's how you actually want to be thinking about for the long game, is not how do we get our dog to be obedient and listen to us in this moment, but instead, how can we treat our dog's mental health so that the violence or the aggression, the bite, the bark, the lunge, whatever, is not even a thought. It's not even a consideration that your dog thinks of. It's just not needed in that situation because your dog feels comfortable. And this kind of segues me into the next point, which is that when you're treating your dog's aggression, you need to be thinking of it as a mental health crisis, a mental health issue, not a behavioral or obedient issue. That is a very short-term perspective. Thinking about, putting your dog in a sit-stay is a very short-term, short-lens idea. Instead, if you're thinking about treating your dog's mental health, that's the long game, my friend. That's actually where the real growth and the real shift occurs. And this kind of leads me into my next state, which is that treating violence with commands and restriction is only as good as the long game permits. So in the same way that you might think about giving a human who is experiencing violence or depression or otherwise anger issues, you might consider giving that person therapy and supporting them in a more mental health, safe, cathartic environment. That's really the environment you want to be setting up for your dog. You want to be thinking about, how can I be tapping into my dog's cognitive beliefs, my dog's emotional well-being? How can I be treating the dog's brain? Not how can I get my dog's behavior better? Again, playing the behavior piece is this short game. Getting your dog to sit, see, fixing what you can see externally is the short game. Targeting the internal experience, targeting your dog's belief systems, their emotions, their thought patterns, that is a much more long game sustainable solution. Now at this point, if you're wondering, okay, Jenna, how do we do the long game? I understand the principle, but tactfully, how do I actually execute? That's a great question. I have this video right here ready for you to click on next. It is a full tutorial on how to help your dog's aggression. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you get notified when I drop a new video, and I'll see you guys next week.